Welcome everyone back to Pommy and All's. Hope we're all doing really well. If you're new around here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. It really, really does help the channel out, so I can't thank you enough for your support. And we're here today to talk about Carlton's VFL, which is always a nice little smorgasbord of delight, isn't it? And fun. But that was a 71.83 game. Blues losing by 12 to the Southport Sharks. And it was a game here, really, where the Blues, again, in the VFL, going through a pattern. Although Southport are joint top, second, if you do count back, the Blues now going down to 21st on the ladder, and there is only 21 teams in the VFL. It does show where they are in terms of all this chopping and changing, and it seems to be a pattern. The Blues gained the ascendancy. That first half was absolutely miraculous. Then the second half happened and we got pegged back. And it is worth noting that Southport, I don't think, are a team that has a lot of AFL calibre players in there. I think it's more of their cohesion and togetherness, which is, again, one of my big issues with us not having an AFL 2 league, because you do see the difference. So this was like a real... This is like one of them games where I think you learn a lot about the players, because this is a real mindset thing where you may have the skill, but do you have the nous? And ultimately the boys got farmed out. It was almost too easy at times and too predictable, especially that fourth quarter. There was a real inevitability about it. So let's get into the players, and we start off with Jesse Motlop. 13 touches, 84.6 efficiency, 2 inside 50s, took his 2 goals well, had a 7. A real interesting game this, I found, from Jesse Motlop, because he's in there with the chance, and he's got that ability to really be a senior player, and he's definitely putting his name in lights. The big issues I had with Jesse is, again, see what I said last week about him, which some people didn't like, but when the game's on the line, we're looking at these AFL stars to really get involved, and I felt like he went more anonymous when the game was on the line. I gave him a 7 because I thought his first 3 quarters were pretty good, but it's been there at the death. And when you look at the seniors, there is moments, the third quarter in Geelong, where things aren't gone your way, but players are doing what they can to negate the score. And for me, Jesse has got to be one of them type of players. Up next, Jackie Carroll, 24 touches, 70.8 efficiency, 1 rebound, 52 inside 50s, the 5 clearances, the 1 tackle. Thank God he's playing an actual role, and this is going to help his development. I did like what he did in bits and pieces. I felt in the fourth he could have been more impactful. He did get himself involved quite a bit later in the game as well, but I just felt like he was let down by players in front of him. I do think I'd like to see him be a bit more bold. At the moment he felt like he was playing safe, and hopefully when we come on to Cooper Lord we can talk about how I feel that could go up another level. This was a really solid game though for him. You've got Cooper Lord there now doing the hard defensive work. This guy here now needs to show that two-way running and show his development. It was a 6.5. I don't mind it. I do feel like he's a player that's under the cosh though this year, with the development of other players that can play multiple roles. I don't think Jack Carroll is going to be that multiple role player, but he's got to be looking at Kennedy and Hewitt and seeing that we have probably too many mids and someone has to excel elsewhere. Kennedy's shown bits and pieces forward. We've seen Hewitt change his role to being a lot more behind the ball. There is opportunities there for him if he can really add some je ne sais quoi, because he's definitely got something there. I just need to see it more, and these are the type of games here that I look at against proper VFL opposition that you show you're a class above, and I felt like he didn't do enough for me to say that. Up next, Caleb Marchbank. Now, a lot of people saying this guy was best on ground. I think he was okay. And I don't want to come across like I'm picking on Caleb Marchbank, because I think he's an incredibly talented footballer. But there was 2 issues I had with this game. One, his ball use, I don't think it was as good as it was. But 2, I was trying to watch it, and he was playing forwards, no disrespect to Southport, but these forwards in their team are nowhere near, and I mean this with all due respect, but they are nowhere near AFL level, if you get what I'm saying. These guys aren't AFL standard. Like, you are never coming across key forwards like Southport in the AFL. And I don't think he really dominated them, to be honest. I didn't... Like, I watch Jacob Whittaker, and I know that's a bad example, but Jacob Whittaker versus Tom Hawkins. Hawkins is at the end of his career. Whittaker battered him, and he showed that there was a level above. I'm expecting Marchbank to have a level above on the offence, and I watched some of his kicking and stuff. It didn't look like it set Carlton up. The 8 intercept possessions, if I gave Kent that in this game, I feel like I would have really, really seen it. Strong, though, and he's returning to form. It was good to see him. Some of the intercepts were incredible. Some of his reads of the play were brilliant. I need to see him dominate. This is a real positive for Carlton, though, because if Caleb Marchbank is next in best dressed, we've got an incredible backline, which we do. Just feel like Caleb Marchbank, for me, at his age, I know people are saying, okay, he stood out. He's got to dominate. He's got to dominate. He's the wrong side of 25. He's nearly 30. Not far off. At this stage in VFL, he should be destroying this competition for a man who's as skillful as him. So that was one there that I didn't mind his game. I did like it. I gave him a 7. But I do feel like there's another level to go. There's another level to go for him. Up next, Jackson Binns. 25 touches, the 60%. The 3 inside 50s, the 1 clearance, so that little pinch hitting around the middle. The 4 tackles, the 2 score involvements, ending up with a 6 out of 10. This was another player that I felt like these type of games now, with his reputation and his nous and his skill, he should be really, really pushing the boat. He should really be looking and going, look, you know what, I'm going the next level. I am going to be the daddy of this group. And I didn't feel it this game. I didn't feel it. I felt like he could have done more. He felt like he was just going through the motions at a 6 out of 10, which is what I gave him. He's been there now a while. He's definitely a VFL veteran. He's played so many games and he's won the BNF for the VFL. Should be going to that next level and really dictating play. And I feel like there's another level. I felt like he's playing within himself at the moment, and I want to see him really explode. And he's probably got the best midfield, talent-wise, that he's ever had playing for the VFL. So for me, a bit of work to do for old mate Jackson Binns, but I'm not giving up on him because I think he will be there or thereabouts. I just feel like there is another level for Jackson to go. Mark Pitner against Crossley, who is a very, very seasoned veteran on in the VFL stages, and I enjoyed what I saw from him in patches. I did really enjoy the fact that they were giving him a role and he was floating forward, which is really interesting when we've seen TDK. The massive improvement of TDK at the moment is the fact that he's now starting to play a lot more deeper in the ball. So this kind of gave me hope that maybe Carlton are looking at what potentially they can do long term to play both of them. But the 24 touches, the 21 hitouts, the 6 score involvements, took his goal well, some good tackles, some good clearance numbers, a 6.5. I'd like to see him dominate a bit more. I felt like that we're still working him towards fitness, so I don't think he'll come in anytime soon, but I would like to see him do this. This was a good little steady game, and it was interesting how him and Murkoff operated. There was heavy minutes for both of them in the ruck. That says to me that Carlton have got one eye on the TDK plan and not trying to rock the apple cart too much. But great to see him back out there, and for his game first up on his spell, very, very, very positive. Only played the half. David Cunningham came on at half-time, and you'd expect this. I mean, you've got to put it in perspective. It was a very scrappy game, so players will be tired. So Cunners came in probably at the right time. He was fresh. The 3 score involvements was very efficient, always looking to make things happen. Good clearances. This was a positive sign here because Cunners definitely playing for his contract, definitely playing for a future at this football club, and did his chances no harm. I'm really excited to see where this may go in the next couple of weeks with Mr. Cunningham, because he's definitely going to be a player that, in my opinion, will be there or thereabouts for the Blues. I don't think it's ended yet. It's going to be interesting where they play him. Now, I'm looking definitely at that position that you see Mr. Arazzi or Fantasia play. Definitely going to be something that is going to be looked at because, and I'll tell you for why, it's a strict role with Carlton. When you watch how Carlton play, It's definitely that defined role, and it's definitely something that the Blues are looking to exercise in the next couple of games. I mean, it's really, really obvious. Do you know what I mean? So he's definitely someone that could play that role, and he did play that kind of deeper role, and that does give us probably a little sturge, because defensively that's a big improvement, and that was still there. You did see that with Connors this week. Defensively, although the tackles weren't there, the pressure he applies on the ball is good, but also his usage is pretty good as well. He does the direct things. So definitely one that I'm looking forward to in the next couple of weeks of how it progresses in the VFL, because he will definitely be a name that we are looking at. Harry Lemmy, this is a game that we could have been talking about, literally a 10 out of 10 game. I'm not even joking. He was everywhere, and he was really trying to make it as hard as possible for the opposition. He's a very, 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 very confident player. I'm starting to see that, and it was good. It was a good game. Could have had more, though. This could have been a 5-goal game. 6 goal involvements was good. Playing in a lot of a deeper role, more full forward, which really just suit him. I did like his leading patterns. It didn't quite happen this week. I've just given him a 6. Could have been so much more, though. These are the games, though, that Harry Lemmy is going to learn a lot about himself, but also what happens when you play this game at elite level, because he really did stand out at times, and it could have been a game that, in my opinion, could have been so much better. But I can see why the Blues love him so much. There is something definitely there with his ability in and around that contest, and he's making opposition really work and defend him. I think he's due a big game in the next 2 weeks. In the next 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about a VFL game where he kicks 5. There's Pom's big call. Lewis Young up next, and Lewis Young, he was industrious, but this is, again, with these key defenders, I do think that this is probably the easiest role to play in my heart of hearts. It's definitely the easiest role that you can play, because you're coming up against people that aren't AFL standard, and when you speak to the key defenders down there, they learn more from the good ones. But the 18 touches, the 83.3 efficiency, I want to touch on this. I was really impressed with his ball use. He was trying to get forward, a little bit more aggressive. Definitely played that more stay-at-home role, which the marks show. Intercept possessions were strong. He's a player that's got to impose himself. He's got Marchbank there, and Marchbank's the blue-eyed boy of the Blue Boys, isn't he? Let's be honest. Everyone really loves him. Lewis Young's probably at the other end of the scale that people question him. This is a great chance now for him to match up with him and try and take that backline off Marchbank, because it should be Marchbank's backline when he's there. I want to see Young step up, so 6 out of 10 for him. Rob Monaghan, interrupted minutes, did his shoulder quite early on, did return to the ground, which was good. The 4 touches, 100%. He took his goal well. Definitely something to persevere with here. He's starting to get a bit of confidence. I want to see him. This is probably going to be a slow burn, a 2-year type thing. We're not going to be seeing Rob Monaghan ASAP Rocky, but I do like what he's doing. He's trying to link up play. Part of me thinks, do you play him behind the ball to try and get into the game a little bit? Because at the moment he's feeding off scraps and he's doing okay with it. I just feel like the next stage of his development should be like maybe trying to get him in and around the ball. Maybe a little bit of pressure. He's got an elite engine. Is it the wing somewhere? And you try and do something with Jackson Binns to add some layers to his game to get him into the seniors. Real interesting questions to be asked, but I do like what Rob's doing. He's doing well. Got a bit of a knee knock. We didn't see him, so this was only half a game, effectively. 85.7 touches, 14 touches for Billy Wilson, 4 rebound 50s, 4 tackles. This kid is something special, and he's going to really, really grow. Big fan of what Billy's bringing to the table. He looks strong at the contest. Bit of time, and this kid could be quite something. I do see him as Nick Newman's heir apparent. He's got something about him. I really do like Billy. I hope the injury isn't bad, and I hope we see him soon. He was really, really strong. Could have been a 10. It would have been lovely to see him, because I felt like everything collapsed transition-wise once Billy went off. Cooper Lord, George Hewitt 2.0, 68.4% for his 19 touches. A very George Hewitt game. Tackle beast. He was in the coaches' votes, 3 clearances, 6 score involvements, does the little things well. These are a joy to watch here. People get excited by your Bins and your coup de grace players, your Paddy Dowles when he's been here. I get excited by this. This was just a ruthless execution of the basics, and he looked a class above in that Southport midfield as well for me when he was up against them. Southport have some very tasty little ball winners in there, and I felt like he did look like he belonged, and there's something to work with there. Very astute with his handball as well. Looks to make things happen, looks to give it off in space. I've really liked it, and he takes them little dangerous dinky kicks on. 8 out of 10 for me. I really like Cooper's game. Looking forward to seeing more of him. Sam Durden, really interesting here because he's the daddy of that backline group and at times did get caught out. His efficiency was good, he intercepted well, and at times I felt like he intercepted better than Caleb Marchbank, which did concern me in that second half. But real strong little customer here, and I don't think he'll be there next year, but this here you've got to be looking at. This is potentially we're upgrading for Caleb Marchbank if he can stay fit as the next cab in the rank. Durden, though, aimable at VFL level and a 6 out of 10. Domaku, 4.5, 2 touches, 2 marks, 6 intercept possessions. 0 intercept possessions, I should say. 1 tackle, 4.5. It was a tough game here because he got rotated a bit and then he got kind of caught out a lot. It's an interesting one because we seem to be saying this about Dom all the time. 1 minute he starts to show something, then he goes back in his shell. Heavily rotated, on and off all the time. I don't know if he had some injuries or something like that, but I feel we should be seeing at least a Sam Durden level from him or something like that. And at the moment, it's hard to see, is it worth persisting other than contract value? But the other guys, Caleb Marchbank can't ask for a lot of money. Can't. Like, if he's got balls to ask for a lot of money, being injured that much, it's going to be interesting, but I'm worrying about Dom. I think time may be running out. Ashton Moyer playing higher up the ground, getting involved, and I did like it. 70% touches, the 3 score involvements, took his goal well. I want to see him play as deep as possible, to be honest, for me. That's like something that's what he's signed for, but I don't mind the fact that he works really hard up the ground, which is a positive and looking to be a conduit down the back half particularly. It's good that Carlton have strayed away from this Harry Mackay playing on the wing as the defensive outlet, and they're starting to use Ashton more in that in the VFL, and in the seniors we're starting to use other people, which makes more sense because 2 key forwards is really important. I like his work rate. 6 out of 10. I feel like there's a game here where he's going to burst open. I don't know when it is yet. And then next, Alex Murkoff. Spent a lot of time in the ruck, which was nice to see them try and replicate what will happen to Pitternet in the VFL given TDK's form should he play seniors. 7 touches, the ball use 42.9, 1 clearance, 1 tackle, the 12 hit outs. This is a really interesting one because it feels like we've created baby Pitternet. His work around the ground is almost non-existent, and he did struggle against Braden Crossley, and Braden Crossley for me is that tier below AFL. It's a great lesson, and I think Murkoff will have learnt a lot here because you might not beat him in the hit-outs, but beat him around the ground, and I felt like Pitternet beat Braden Crossley massively around the ground. It wasn't so much in the ruck. He broke even probably for me in the ruck, and that's what TDK does really well. That's something that Murkoff's got to work on. He needs to impose himself, and at times he felt like he gave Crossley too much respect. All in all, poor outing. Some takeaways from there, though. Cooper Road does look like quite a find. Peace, love, and light. Pom out.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella